All Syrians in the UK feel about their country going forwards. There were gatherings across the weekend in both London and Manchester celebrating the fall of Bashar al-Assad. That was audio taken by Yasmine Nahlawi, who is a Syrian American based in Manchester. She'd lived in the UK for 13 years and is head of investigations at the Syrian British Consortium, where she works on documenting war crimes in the country. She joins me now. Yasmine, good evening. First of all, how are you feeling after this moment in history that we've all been witnessing and is, of course, particularly pertinent and personal for you?
Hi, Kay. Good evening. This is a moment of celebration for Syrians. This is the moment that Syrians have been waiting for, not just for the past 13 years since the revolution broke out in Syria, but certainly for the past decades, because the Assad regime family rule, Hafiz Assad followed by his son Bashar al-Assad, have marked over half a century of brutal dictatorship against the country of Syria. So this is certainly an occasion for celebration.
Where are your thoughts, Yasmine, as to where you want the country to go? This is a relief for you, but when you think about the next steps forward, the next few weeks and months, potentially the next government in Syria, where the country goes from here, where do your thoughts go?
It's not going to be an easy task to rebuild the country, most primarily because of the sheer destruction and the sheer chaos and the direness of the situation that's left by the Assad regime. The decades rule of the Assad regime has left power and has left wealth consolidated within a very select few oligarchs within the country. And then within the last 13 years, certainly we've seen an even more extreme destruction of the country through a physical bombardment. We've seen the exodus of over half of the population, whether they're IDPs, internally displaced persons, or refugees outside the country. We've seen hundreds of thousands of people being detained in Assad regime prisons. All of this is going to mark a huge and significant toll on the country, monetarily, psychologically, physically, and it's going to take a lot of efforts, whether that is material efforts or psychological efforts or state building efforts, to bring us back to where we want to be. But I think there's one thing that Syrians have shown over the past 13 years, and that is that we are able to rise to the challenge. Syrian efforts in calling for civilian protection and in pushing for accountability over the past 13 years have been incredible. And as someone who's been working on this accountability front, the amount of ingenuity that has been pushed by Syrians at the international level is absolutely incredible and significant. And I have no doubt that the Syrian people can rise to this occasion again. And we hope that foreign powers will support Syrians in building the Syria that they want, and that this will be a Syrian-led process.
Okay, look, and there's been a pause on any further processing of Syrian asylum claims in the UK for the time being. Does that step make sense to you?
I mean, we just overthrew the dictator yesterday. It's very soon to tell what's going to happen with Syria, what the security situation is going to be. I don't see how we can make an assessment of whether Syria is safe to return to so quickly. And, the UK has welcomed thousands of Syrians. But, also this is quite frankly a message to Syrians that, okay, everything's done, get out now, or we don't want you anymore. Let's have a buffer time to examine what's happening on the ground, to see what the situation is going to be like, and to make sure that Syria, before we take a step of pausing or rejecting asylum claims, to take the time to assess what direction is the country going in.
Do you think lots of people will be trying to leave Syria? I saw pictures yesterday morning along the border with Lebanon, and Syrians in Lebanon were queuing at the border to get back in, and that is the case with other border countries as well, as people look at the fall of Assad and they think, great, my country's safe again and I want to get back home, which is totally fair enough. But do you think people are going to be going the other way? Do you think people who supported Assad will now fear for their lives?
I can't guess what Assad regime supporters are thinking of right now. I don't know if it will be they're fearing for their lives or they're fearing that they will be brought to justice for the crimes that they've committed. Because one thing also that Syrians would like to pursue, whether in the near or more short or long-term future, is that we want justice for the crimes that were committed, and we want people who committed these crimes to be held accountable. And Assad is the first person who's left and fled the country, and he should be the first person standing trial. So people, Assad regime supporters or henchmen who may be thinking of leaving the country, I would question whether it's a fear over their lives or a fear over accountability. To date, we haven't seen any reprisals taking place in Syria. I think that situation speaks for itself.
Look, thanks very much for speaking to us, Yasmine Nahlawi, who's a Syrian American based in Manchester and was part of some celebrations marking the moment.